Hello, this is Jade the Stone, and welcome to speedARTicles, where I talk about a piece of media that I like and draw some fan art for it. There are many ways that I've thought of talking about the latest incarnation of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, from trying to compare and contrast it with previous versions of the franchise, to trying to defend it from the honestly unnecessary amount of hatred that it's received, to trying to dissect the essence of what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles embodies. But I think the only good way to go about any of that is to simply say, I sincerely love Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it's actually a fantastic series. It's hard to talk about Rise without bringing up the differences between it and the other versions of the TMNT franchise. I think that's what has caused a lot of pushback from old TMNT fans. And that wariness is completely understandable. For me, it was less the differences that initially made me hesitate to watch it, since I knew very little about the series at first, and more the character designs. I liked that they seemed to be taking notes from more recent incarnations of the series and making each turtle look different by giving them different features and body shapes. But the art looked a bit blocky and static to me at first. Thankfully, that is not the case, as the animation is really top-notch, and they do some amazing work with camera angles, shot composition, and fight choreography. But one cannot ignore the differences between this series and the previous versions. However, that is entirely the point. It wasn't until I started writing this and looking more closely at the previous incarnations of the franchise that I realized just how homogeneous it was on the whole. Pretty much every version of the series, from the comics to the shows to the movies, tell nearly the same stories with nearly the same plot beats and the exact same character arcs. It's always the four turtles fighting the Shredder, aka Orokusaki, and the Foot Clan, old rival of the Hamato clan, previously led by Hamato Yoshi, aka Splinter, usually after a dispute between Yoshi and Saki over a woman named Tang Shen. And there's always a saga involving the turtles defending the Earth from the evil alien menace Krang, and it's usually Krang or the Shredder who have a hand in creating the turtles themselves. You see similar allies and villains. There's pretty much always space or interdimensional shenanigans. And of course you have the spunky damsel in distress and friend of the turtles, April O'Neil. And then there's Splinter, who plays the part of an old wise mentor. Leonardo leads, Donatello does machines, Raphael is cool but rude, and Michelangelo is a party dude. Every single time. And I am not for a second complaining about that. Because no matter the incarnation of the show, each one manages to set a different tone, look at a concept from a slightly different angle, and in general adds positively to the characters and the lore of the franchise. That's kind of what is great about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There's a different thing for everyone. If you want something campy and hilarious with a touch of genius, go for the 1987 version. If you want something with a bit more gravitas, go for the 2003 version. Something in between? Then the 2012 version is right for you. High-octane action? See Michael Bay. If you like something more philosophical and deep, check out the IDW comic. But if you want to see something entirely new, watch Rise. Because, man, this show does things way differently, and I love it for that. It's the breath of fresh air that the TMNT franchise needs. It revels in its differences. Rise goes out of its way to try something new in a formula that's been done to death. With Rise, not only do I get a fun new plot, but I get different kinds of character development, different character tropes, and a unique new art style that fits the chaotic nature of its cast while expertly guiding your eye through the chaos. So, what are the differences that makes Rise so great? First of all, you get a unique and unexpected plot. While most versions of TMNT have a sci-fi bent, Rise goes for something a bit more fantasy-oriented. In the first episode, our heroes are introduced to a mystical underground city hidden under New York, filled with yokai, or Japanese supernatural creatures. While mutants are a common enemy of the Turtles, a yokai called Baron Draxum has replaced Krang as the big bad and the creator of the mutants. In addition to Baron Draxum, there's also Big Mama, a spider yokai who volleys between being an outright antagonist and an occasional ally, but only when it benefits her. We've also got a whole new cast of mutants with unique powers, abilities, and personality quirks. The show winds the Baron Draxum plot up with some familiar plot threads involving the Foot Clan and the Shredder, who does exist in this universe. Not quite in the same form, but no less dangerous or intimidating. These different plot points are really interesting, and since it's all new material, it keeps you guessing throughout the whole thing. Furthermore, it balances the plot with tons of fun and hilarious episodes, exploring the antics and dynamics of the main characters themselves. This brings me to the 4 turtles. For once in the franchise, the turtles are given different ages, different weapons, and are based on different turtle species. The different ages leads to some different character dynamics. The different weapons are magical in nature, except Donnie's bow staff, which is decked out with tech. And their different species makes them all look very different and unique to each other from a design perspective. Their personalities and team dynamics have also changed a lot. Some are a bit more similar than others. Michelangelo has perhaps remained the most consistent. He's fun-loving, friendly, and the one that goes cowabunga. Mikey is a bit smarter and introspective in this version, though still a bit goofy and naive. He's the classic younger brother, but wants to be taken a bit more seriously by his older siblings. This version plays up his creative and food-loving nature by making him an artist and a cook. He even puts colorful stickers on his shell, and there are some episodes that explore his love and talent at cooking. I really like it when a show includes the hobbies and passions of their characters, so I fully approve of these additions to Mikey's personality. Donatello is still the brainy one, toting around all kinds of gadgets and talking in technobabble. He has way more outward confidence and bravado than most Donnies, and I'd say he's the most morally gray of the bunch, with a bit of a mad scientist vibe to him. There are plenty of episodes where his experiments get out of hand and cause trouble for his brothers, leading to some humorous character conflict with a touch of growth and good development on his part. His main arc involves him looking for validation, especially from adults, which makes for some really good moments involving Splinter. Next we have Raphael, who takes the spot as the oldest sibling and also the leader, a role normally reserved for Leonardo. Most versions of Raphael give him a big temper and a difficulty with dealing with his emotions in a positive manner. In Rise, Raph is no longer a closeted softie, instead wearing his emotions on his sleeve and openly caring for his brothers. He's a bit dumber than most Raphs, though just as reckless. He has less of a temper, but is a classic brawler when fighting. Like most Raphaels, his strategy in combat includes punching the other guy until he goes down. What I like about this Raphael, however, is that when it comes to his family, he is truly a gentle giant. He is your classic older brother type who is protective and doting of his younger siblings. He fully embodies positive masculinity at its finest, and I love that about him. And because of this role shift, he has to go through a different kind of character development. Instead of having to learn to control his temper and to be open about his emotions, like most Raphaels, this one has to learn to put more faith in his brothers and learn to let go more. It's an interesting change of pace for Raphael's character, and sets up the arc for our final turtle brother, Leonardo. So if Leo is not the leader, then what is he? This is the issue I find with most versions of Leo, because he is the weakest character from a writing standpoint in the TMNT franchise. It bothers me when a character's personality is boiled down to their role. And in most versions of TMNT, Leo is the leader. It is for this reason that Leonardo has consistently been my least favorite turtle. And then there's Rise's Leo, who isn't the leader. He's more of a jokester and show-off. He is the face man, in his words. He likes being the center of attention, yet is quite blasé with the idea of taking charge. But for all of his showboating and humor, he's actually masking a lot of confidence issues. He wants to be seen as worthy of his siblings' trust, and his growth throughout just the first season in that vein is really amazing. It's great because you slowly get to see that strategic side of Leo develop throughout the show. And with his more fun-loving personality, it makes his arc incredibly engaging. And perhaps most endearing of all is that for once Leo gets to be a real teenager. In fact, they all do. It's so nice to see these four guys just have fun and be teens. They skateboard, pull pranks on each other, and goof off. Yeah, there's danger and ninja training and the occasional angst, but the thing I love most about this show is the weird teenage sibling shenanigans that they get into. Another cool thing about this series is that April gets in on the sibling shenanigans too. Most versions of TMNT usually start with April meeting the Turtles, and then their relationship as good friends and allies develop throughout the series. But in this version, April has apparently been the Turtles' friend for years already. As such, she's got a more big sister type dynamic with the Turtles, having grown up alongside them. She's never been a damsel in distress in this version, and is often in on the action alongside the main characters. I immediately grew to like her when in the first episode she pulled a Leroy Jenkins, running wildly into a fight yelling her own name as a battle cry. Yeah, this April is pretty cool. Finally, that leaves Splinter, who is perhaps the most wildly different from his other counterparts, but surprisingly, grew to be one of my favorite characters. He starts out as this lazy and almost neglectful father figure. They basically just chuck the wise old man trope out the window with this one. But to be honest, I find it fascinating because this is the first time that I've seen Splinter get a character arc. Every other version of Splinter is awesome from the get-go. This one has to grow and learn. His backstory in Rise is way different, and there is very much a reason why he's let himself go in the way that he has. To see him be an awkward father and make mistakes and have to learn from them and grow as a person, to grow into that sensei that we all know, is perhaps one of my favorite parts of this series. Both Leo and Splinter's arcs in just season 1 are great examples of writing character growth, and they may just be my favorite versions of themselves because of it. I could easily make an entire video exploring just these two. In fact, I might. Let me know if you'd be interested in more spoilery, but also more in-depth content on specific characters or specific parts of shows I've already reviewed. Anyway, the main thing that brings the entire series together is simply the dynamics between our main cast of 6. Leo, Donnie, Raph, Mikey, Splinter, and April together feel like a family, and that's really at the heart of all TMNT incarnations. Deep down, every version of this franchise is about their brotherhood and how they do anything for each other. And that really shines through in Rise. Throughout all of the light-hearted humor and silly antics is a lot of sibling love and family in jokes. It's what makes this series so wholesome and enjoyable for me to watch. I've never laughed more while watching a TMNT show, nor have I felt so much love coming from these characters. When deciding on what to draw for this review, I was debating between drawing something actiony and dynamic, or drawing a group hug. In the end, I had to go with the group hug. There's a lot of those in this series, and they're all perfect. It took me a while to figure out how to get all 6 main characters in on the hug, but then I figured I could just have Raph carry them. He's big enough that he could do that anyway. So whether it's your close friends, mom, dad, siblings, adoptive or otherwise, or if you're 4 turtles, a rat, and a human girl, go out there and hug your family. And also watch Rise, because it's awesome. Thanks so much for watching till the end of the video. If you liked what you saw and you're interested in seeing more of this kind of video, subscribe and hit the like button. If you have any requests or questions about other shows that you'd like to see me talk about or draw some fan art for, please write that down in the comments. To see the artwork I did in this video, the link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.